No, we speak up. Thank you. Hello, everybody. I'm Highland County Commissioner Melanie Bacon. I serve as a member of the Board of Highland Transit, and it's in that role that I'm addressing you today to discuss two significant staffing actions that the Highland Transit Board took this week. And I want to thank you, transit workers on both of our islands, for listening to us today. First, I want to let you know who your board members are, because you may not know. We are 6 representatives from 4 jurisdictions in the county. The 3 county commissioners, Oak Harbor County Councilmember Eric Marshall, Coupeville Town Council member Jenny Bright, and Langley City Councilmember Craig Cyr, who is serving as our board chair this year. Right. And we serve on this board as part of our commitment to the citizens of Island County to ensure responsible leadership in the use of the tax dollars that fund this organization. The taxpayers have trusted us with their funds, and we in turn need to be able to trust the leadership of this organization that those funds are being used responsibly. Which leads me to what I want to share with you. This week, we released Executive Director Todd Morrow from his employment at Island Transit under the terms of his employment contract. And we put HR and Administrative Services Director Robin Goldring on administrative leave pending further action. I'm not going to go into much detail or personnel specifics, but I do want to address 3 things that are of concern to the board of directors. And the first 2 are trust and transparency. All of your board members are elected officials, and we are all champions of transparency in government. And as I said earlier, the taxpayers trust us to use their dollars wisely. We have to trust.
Join the meeting.
We have to trust that our leadership team is going to abide by that same expectation. An incident occurred which caused us, the board, to lose that trust. Last year, Island Transit hired a compensation consulting group, Gallagher, to perform a compensation analysis on our non-represented employees. At one of our fall board meetings, I think it was in October, Gallagher gave a presentation to the board, letting us know that they had done this study and also letting us know the methodology that they used in determining their recommendations. They did not, however, share any of their actual recommendation for position pay changes with the board, nor did the senior leadership share that information with us. Now, I spent 30 years in human resources, and before I came to work at Island County as their HR director, I was the international compensation manager for a Fortune 500 corporation. So I know compensation, and I know compensation methodology, and I have a pretty good idea about what most jobs should pay. So I mentioned 2 things in that meeting. I said that Gallagher's methodology, as they described it, was in line with standard methodology, and I supported their methodology. And I said that I wanted to see what their recommendations, what their actual recommendations were for positions at Island Transit. I and the other members of the board were assured that we would get that information. And then we moved on to the rest of our agenda for that meeting. Now, as a county commissioner, I serve on many boards. I do not have time to micromanage the operations of any of them. If I'm told about a project at a board meeting, I ask questions. I may push back, particularly when it comes to use of tax dollars. But the fact is that we hire executive directors to do their job responsibly, and we trust that they will do that. And we trust that the people under their leadership will also do their jobs responsibly, including how they use tax dollars. And that if it isn't, that that's not the case, then we expect those executive directors to take the appropriate disciplinary action. But anyway, so I said that I wanted to see what was being proposed. I was promised I would get that information. It didn't happen, and shame on me, I did not follow up. So then a couple of months later, the board was asked to approve the 2024 budget. We were given a presentation. The presentation talked about the various great projects that we're working on that the board had approved moving forward on. There was no mention of any large pay increases for anyone. We glanced through the spreadsheets attached to the presentation, and apparently none of us scrutinized every line of the budget, because toward the back, there is a list of proposed pay for the exempt staff. That budget includes a 52.74% pay increase for the Human Resources Administrative Services Director, bringing her pay from a high but not unreasonable rate of $120,000 per year to over $183,000 per year. I could feel my face getting red. The Director of Human Resources and General Services Administration at Island County is paid in the mid-120s. And Island County has almost 500 employees, many departments and offices, and a budget of over $138 million a year. In other words, the labor market salary range for HR directors in our county in a public agency does not include a salary of $183,000 a year. Now, if Gallagher made that recommendation, and I'm still working on researching their recommendations.
Join the meeting.
If they did, the HR director and the executive director of Island Transit should have pushed back. At the very least, the 2024 budget presentation that was given to the board of Island Transit should have highlighted the 4 large increases that were being proposed for 4 discrete positions so the board could talk about it. HR should have known better. The executive director should have known better. We are a public agency responsible for the prudent use of taxpayer funds. And I can tell you, the board would have never approved an HR increase had it been brought to our attention, as I specifically requested during the Gallagher presentation. So trust and transparency. We as an organization need to up our transparency game, and the board will be working on ways to do that. Over the last couple of days, I've recommended a couple of transparency things, just one of which is that from now on, all employees who want to listen to our board meetings can do so, as long as they still get their work done. We are the taxpayers board. We are your board. You have a right to know what's going on in your organization. And you and the public need to be able to trust that the decisions of the leadership of Island Transit are responsible, prudent, and yes, visionary. The board remains excited about the visionary ideas proposed by the former executive director. And as of now, and Craig can address this, but as of now, all projects already approved by the board remain at full steam ahead. We have not had any conversations about changing projects. We're excited about those projects. But the board does have one last concern I do want to mention to all of you, because it really does impact all of you. The board is deeply concerned about the many route cancellations that have occurred recently. Dependable, reliable, consistent bus service is the essential function of our organization. And the board will be talking about options for getting back on the right path to provide this at our board meeting next Friday. The board is also very concerned about you, about your morale. We know that you are all proud to work at Island Transit. We also want you to be happy. We want you to feel that your work is valued. We're bringing in an organization, Nash Consulting, to do an employment workplace assessment in the next couple of weeks to help us identify ways to ensure that this is the best possible place to work, to ensure that you have everything you need to be happy at your jobs. And I hope that you will all participate. I will be here temporarily as your acting HR director. And I want to introduce you now to Craig Cyr, who is our board chair, who is serving as our acting executive director. Thank you.
Good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
Thank you, Commissioner Bacon, for those spot-on comments. I really appreciate hearing this. My name is Craig Cyr, and I am a Langley Councilmember. I have been a board member on Island Transit since 2020. And I moved to Island County in 1998 with my family. I quickly realized that I needed a solution other than driving onto the ferry back. Came across the van pool program at Transit, and it'll be interesting. I don't think I'll ask the question of van pool. I'm sure, managing at least 6 different van pools during my career. Island Transit van pool and Island Transit bus service out of Langley have saved me tens of thousands of dollars. Not a stretch to say. It's a remarkable program, the van pool program, and Island Transit with the bus routes, number 60 southbound, which I'm quite familiar with. And I'm sure there are people all over the islands, all over Camino, that have similar relationships and similar needs for this agency to deliver the service. And so I want to just express my thanks to every person here, every person on the phone, every Island Transit staff member, whether you're on Whidbey or Camino, from really from the bottom of my heart. And I also have to say that my mother, who maybe some of the longtime members here call, was also used paratransit. She really exercised that program, I'll tell you. There were times when I would hear the backup horn from the bus, and I would realize that my mom had arranged for paratransit to drive her from Oak Harbor to Langley. Unbeknownst to me, I didn't know I was going to be hosting my mom. So thanks. I'm transit, paratransit. Anyway, as Melanie said, the board appointed me as acting executive director this past Wednesday. And as you know, Melanie, as you just heard, is the acting HR director. So as far as the path forward, I'm not going to go in too much into the details. Melanie covered them quite well. But I want to say that the path forward is going to start, it's starting this week already, but kind of officially will kick off on June 7th, when we have a discussion about the recruiting process that we're going to go through to identify the next executive director. And I can assure you that that will be a thorough process. I've already received 2 inquiries about applying for the position when it's posted. This got around the Northwest Transit industry fast. I'm now realizing how connected all of you are to your colleagues and other transit agencies, which is a good thing. And so I was very heartened to know, there's an executive director at another transit agency that noticed this. I talked with them yesterday, and I promised I would let them know once the position is posted. And I've also received a call from the Washington State Transportation Association, interested to know because he said that he'd seen the press release. So we have a lot of opportunity here. So as Melanie said, really quite powerfully, actually, Island Transit delivers a critical service to the residents and visitors to Island County. So I have an ask for each employee as we move forward. Each of you is a subject matter expert in your job. Each one of you does your job, and you know how to do the job, and you know how to improve it. And so we need all of you to be hitting on all cylinders, so to speak. Although maybe that phrase won't be as relevant when we have more electric vehicles. But you're a subject matter expert in your job. And whether you're driving a bus from the number 1 from Clinton to Oak Harbor, or the number 1 from Terry's Corner to Cama Beach, whether you're a dispatcher, whether you work in maintenance and facilities, whether you are part of the administrative function, trying to get every section here. And if I didn't mention you, I'm now mentioning you now. The person, the organization I didn't mention here, we need all of you to lean into your job and perform it as we move forward in this transition. And so that's my first ask of each of you. And the second ask is, Melanie mentioned trust, and I think there's a shortage of trust here, and trust in the management chain. And we need you to trust, Melanie and I and the board need you to trust that we are committed to making the changes we need to make. And that goes to my third, and related to what Melanie mentioned. When we bring in the organizational assessment, we need your voice. If they come in here and there's, silence, and you don't trust this process is gonna work, it's not gonna work. But we need every employee who is willing to speak with the organization we're bringing in. You need to tell us about your work environment. You need to tell us about your employee experience. And I know that I speak for Melanie and the board in saying that we are committed to moving the agency forward into a safe and bright future where we deliver the vital services that our stakeholders, the taxpayers, the visitors that come to Island County, the small businesses, all of those depend on. So that's my message. I'm really pleased to be the acting director, and I don't expect to be the acting director very long. And I'm seeing a couple of familiar